the new SEC.
All right, thank you for tuning in to the new SEC podcast. We got an extra special episode for you this week. We got Dukesthescoop here, Phillip Dukes from Well Off Media, formerly 24/7 on 3, joining us to talk about college football playoff round 1, preview of week 2. We'll talk some portal. A lot of craziness happening this week. We saw Eric Singleton join Auburn, so they're killing it in the portal. Phillip, talk to us. Welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me, man. Excuse me, been a little bit under the weather. It's like the first time anybody's seen me in about a week, so I'm just glad to be out of captivity.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. It's tough being inside, and there's nothing like being sick during the holidays. It's not fun at all,
man. Bro, me and like the worst at being sick too. Like I'm horrible, bro. So I was whining and crying, all type of shit, man.
You need a big old baby. You need a big old blanket.
Yeah, man. But I ain't moved for 4 days, bro. Like didn't talk to nobody. Like people like, you all right?
Hit him with the we good.
Yeah, that's nice. Bro.
I'll be in my room.
Yeah, man. But man, it's good to be out and be active, man. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. I mean, while you were sick, were you able to watch some of the college football playoff?
Man, you know what, dog? I slept through a lot of it, and I ain't miss a whole lot when I went back and looked, bro. Like, man, little bit disappointed with the first week. I mean, it's hard, right? Like, it's an inexact science. You want to put, like, everybody thought that 12 was going to be the number. Some people thought it should have been 16, but it seems like maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 is the sweet spot, but it seems like there were 4 games where no one was really matched up well. Clemson probably put up the best fight latest in the game. But outside of that, man, 3 blowouts and teams that frankly look like they shouldn't have been there.
Yeah. And I felt like, everyone was hating on the first 3 teams, and then Tennessee comes in and it's like, okay, well, maybe it is just a universal thing. It's not just a ACC problem. SEC's got some duds too. So, I mean, if anyone wanted an 8-team playoff, we got an 8-team playoff now because it's just the best 8. So, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think right now, and it's still kind of weird because I'm like, damn, Boise State got a bye.
Right.
Ooh, Arizona State got a bye. That's
right.
Tough, man.
Yeah.
But who do you put in? Like, do you put in Ole Miss? And Ole Miss, because Ole Miss had a shot. Right. They didn't handle their business, right?
Right.
South Carolina didn't handle their business. Like, so you had teams that, probably could have been there who probably are a little bit better. But when the SEC has built the conference the way that they have, it's part of it. Like, the cannibalism is real. So, I mean, you don't sign up for certain stuff and then go cry about it later. Like, if you want to walk around with that SEC is the best mantra, then you have to go. I mean, the best of the best are the ones that you'll see. I did hate to see Tennessee get spanked like that. Man, I wasn't expecting that, though. I really was. I thought, because if you looked at Twitter the whole day, it was, yeah, man, these teams ain't it. Yeah, can't wait till a real SEC team shows you how you get down. And then they go in there and get their ass spanked, boy. Ooh,
Belt the ass, man. Belt the ass. Yeah, B2A. And it looked like they were coming back, right? It was 21-10. Nico's hitting the LeBron celebration. I'm like, all right, like, they might be able to come back here. And then Ohio State just took it to him. Ryan Day had something to prove that day.
Yeah, man. He looked like a man coaching with his job on the line, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cutthroat. They gave you everything. They gave you a lot of different looks. I mean, yeah, he looked like a guy who was coaching with his job on the line. And I think it was also a statement to the SEC as well. Like, all right, look, Tennessee, okay, this is one of your best ones. All right, we're going to send them back in the body bag. So, type of message that is. And at the end of the day, we'll see how that affects the playoffs going forward.
Yeah. We'll definitely see it. I know they've been talking a lot about, home playoff games. I wish these next round were at home too. Obviously, the Peach Bowl, Texas is going to be playing here in Atlanta with Arizona State. But, I mean, watching Notre Dame play at home, watching Texas host a game, I mean, it was rowdy.
Yeah, man. Like, it kind of gives you that pro playoff feel, right?
Yeah.
Think about Arrowhead in January. Like, that's kind of how I felt like looking at the horseshoe the other day. So I think going forward, you'll see, because at the end of the Peach Bowl, bro, like Texas and Arizona State and Atlanta, just it's got to be a better way,
right?
Right. Where you can probably get some more regional games put together. I feel like Georgia Notre Dame would be. I mean, I think Notre Dame travels so well that would be like a better game than what you'll see this week. But and you don't want to give it too far. But is Georgia? What's Georgia like? The number 2 seed overall?
2 seed overall. Yeah.
I think they deserve a little bit of a little home cooking if you're the 2 seed, right?
I mean, between them and Oregon kind of screwed on everything because they got the worst second round matchup. But if you're Arizona State, if you're Boise State, you kind of are, you got a better look. I mean, Penn State, they get to play at home and then they get to play Boise State, whereas Georgia, they got to go, play a Notre Dame team that's buzzing. So they got to reevaluate the way that these teams get bids.
Yeah. And I mean, and a lot of kind of this whole like blowouts is the job that Marcus Freeman's been doing at Notre Dame. Like, respect to him. He's been helping them win. The NIU loss feels like it was forever ago. They've been ripping and running for sure.
Man, and the way they handle the portal, like being very selective with who they take. But man, did they not nail it on Riley Leonard?
They
like, not just on the field, but off the field too. Being able to rally a team. I mean, that could have been a Chicken Little moment. Like, sky is falling. Yeah. And it wasn't. They rebounded, and now arguably they've been one of the top 2 or 3 teams in college football. I mean, if not the top team in college football since. I mean, maybe Oregon has only had a better run, undefeated since then. Mm-hmm. What's that, 9 in a row? 8, 9?
I want to say it's like 8, 9 in a row. Yeah.
Oh. They ain't playing.
No. And then, I mean, they beat Georgia Tech pretty bad, better than Georgia did. Obviously, they beat Army, they beat Navy bad. I mean, they've been dominating. They took care of business early in that game, and Indiana fought at the end, but Notre Dame, they got something going there for sure.
No, for sure, man. And then the way they did it, man, like as far as really just running it down your throat, like and imposing your will. No, like that's what really scares me about somebody in January. Yeah. It's about like, can you slow the game down, or speed the game up by slowing it down and running the ball, right? So at the end of the day, they look pretty scared to me. I think that's gonna be a really good matchup to see if they're offensive and what they want to do. Because if you just go back and look at Notre Dame offensive lines historically, even back to when Kelly was there, that's one thing you can count on. Def Texas and Notre Dame being able to have a great offensive line. And so when you look at that versus Georgia not having that, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line anymore, some guys who are more like other college and not so like other college players and not so otherworldly, excuse me. I mean, I think it's going to be a good matchup, but I think where Georgia really will kind of show the difference will be in the linebacker core, right? When you talk about a guy like Smile Munden, you talk about C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, Chris Cole, like they got babies over there that are just like dying to get off the leash, that are absolute monsters that start for 95% of college football right now. So I think that linebacker core is going to be the difference in that ball game.
Yeah, and they show up differently in some games. And I think right now, if they're coming, the last game we saw them in against Texas is running for over 200 in their last 4 games, but they played Georgia and they put up 30, 40 rushing yards. So the Georgia team is tough to run against, but we see them show up a little bit weak against someone like Georgia Tech. But it's hard to bet against someone like Kirby Smart when it comes to postseason football.
No, when you can put a 225, 230-pound linebacker as a nickel back, then it gets difficult. Like, so I'm looking at the game plan for the weekend. I'm talking to a couple of my buddies, and they was like, "Hey man, I think Smile's gonna be playing corner this week." Like, what? Like, yeah, bro. Like Smile's playing slot corner, and I'm like, how's that gonna work? Like, he might get lined up against Wingo, but when you're talking about a guy who's 230 pounds, who runs a 4.4, he's striking out, like covering the fly, covering the flat. Yep. But then when he comes up in run coverage, that wide receiver can't block that guy. And that's one of the things I think that what people didn't realize Georgia was doing. They only played 2 corners. Like everything else on the slot was either a big safety or it was a linebacker, which is just both. It just talks about you can kind of just lens to the athleticism that Georgia boasts as an entire team. So yeah, man, I think that game is going to be like a true test of grit versus athleticism.
Definitely gonna be a true test, and we saw what Love did for Notre Dame, just running it down Indiana's throat. Like, that's gonna be tough when you have some of that safety play. And you talking about the safety play, you talking about the linebacker play. It makes me think about KJ Bolden is a true freshman. You do a lot in the recruiting industry. I'm sure you had the opportunity to kind of look at him. What does it take for guys like KJ Bolden and other guys to be plug and play freshman players?
Man, first of all, you got to have it up here. Your mental capacity as far as intellect, you got to be strong up top with the books. Like, what shooting runs ain't easy. I know guys who've been to different schools after they left Georgia that were saying, like, this is a piece of cake compared to what I was doing at Georgia. And at Georgia, they don't have time to give you reps. You got to learn it when everybody learns it, because there's a guy who's picking it up whether you are or not. And so by being able to be an 18-year-old, going in, you've got all this hoopla around you, being able to, one, put on the weight necessary for you to be able to be a physical safety, which everybody worried about with KJ.
Yep.
Then two, the stardom that comes along with being the hot shot guy on campus at the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
And then three, just actually being able to take it all in. I think that's what it really boils down to. KJ is a guy who's mature beyond his years, got a really good relationship with his family. Now, I don't know if you saw on Instagram, man, it was funny because I bought tickets for me and Cam to go, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought first row tickets. He wakes up that morning and says, Dad, I want to go to the game. I'm like, it's Christmas time. All right, cool, we're going to go.
Right, but say less.
After you just said, when I had free tickets, you didn't want to go on Thursday. Right. So then I get up, I go on the game timeout, boom. I buy these front row tickets, but they're on the Texas side. So we get in there, he was like, Dad, I don't think you realized, but we're on the wrong side. I'm like, bro, I don't give what side we on, bro? $800 tickets, bro. Like, we're gonna you're gonna like it.
Yeah, you gonna watch the game from here. You're gonna deal with it.
Yeah, man, we're in the front row, bro. Like, we got like the mascot right here. The Texas, I forgot what the mascot name is.
Devo.
Yeah. You got the cow right here. You got you got the team. We watching these guys, bro. You can slap five with them.
Right,
man. True story, bro. KJ Bolden. Me and his dad, Kai, go back. I text his pop, like, man, you won't believe this. How I'm like, where you at, dog? Like, you won't believe this kid. And he was like, bro, we got 2 extra. And we was able to go over to the Georgia sideline right there. So, man, shout out to the Bolden fella, man. Kai and Keisha, man, appreciate y'all.
Hey, they held it down for you. That's what's up, man. And
family.
Real family, real connected. And I saw the experience from my story. And, y'all got to see a great game. Go to overtime. Gunnar Stockton balled out. And, Cam got his way. He got to see his dogs win.
Hey, man, listen, man. It's so much Auburn stuff in here, bro. When I tell you, bro, he ain't asked for nothing Auburn for Christmas. Everything Georgia, bro. Straight flipped on me, dog.
Dang. How you gonna do like that? How you gonna do like that? They ain't, man. They ain't. And there's so much I want to talk about with you. And you talked about Auburn. Let's talk about the transfer portal and recruiting. Because Auburn just got one of the biggest recruits in the portal today. We're recording here on Monday, December 23rd. Eric Singleton, last 2 years, over 1,000 yards, 9 tutties. He's been doing his thing here in Atlanta at Tech. What is? Do you think, like, how is Auburn doing so well recruiting right now? Is it the facilities? Is it the promise of future success? Is it just, they started to add guys like Jackson Arnold and Deuce? What do you think it is?
Part of it, why they're doing so well in the Atlanta area is going to be Kenyatta Watson. If you remember, he came from Georgia Tech. He was at Florida State. He did all the camps. So that, he's been knowing the Singleton family since they were like 10. He knew Deuce Knight from way back in the day because he had this camp where he had all the top players and from 10 years old all the way up coming out here to Gwinnett and Atlanta and all types of places. And he's been a guy who's been able to leverage those relationships, being a stand-up guy. And he's one of the main reasons that Georgia Tech signed Eric Singleton, aka Lil E. We call him Lil E. Okay. He was able to sign Lil E in the first place at Georgia Tech. Auburn, it came down to Auburn and Georgia Tech. Lil E was at Alexander. Previously, he was at Douglas County with Dukes Alexander, who just signed with Ole Miss. Now imagine having these two guys in high school on each side of each other. But that last year, Lil E goes to Alexander, goes off, then goes and runs like a 10-2 in 100, and everybody's like, bro, like, who is this dude? So at the end, it came down to Georgia Tech and Auburn. Georgia Tech actually won out, and a lot of that was because Kenyatta Watson identified him so early. And he's a guy on Auburn staff that I think you can't pay him enough right now as far as the job that he's doing as a staffer. So one of those reasons that Auburn is doing well based on the valuations and being able to have relationships is Kenyatta Watson. The other thing is going to be is, man, you got Nike coming, and there's a quiet buzz about changing Auburn. And these kids today don't know about Cam Newton as a player at Auburn. They may know Cam Newton, his NFL career, but if you think about it, an 18-year-old today in 2024 was what? Let's do the math. In 2010, They were what?
10, 9.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. That was 14 years ago? They were 4.
Yeah.
14 years ago, they were 4 years old. So when Cam Newton was doing all this, like, I'm trying to think, what sports do I remember when I was 4 years old? That was a long time ago. Like,
Not much.
You don't know a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
So these guys don't have any recollection of Auburn being a dominant team. Even with Nick Marshall, they were only like 6'7", so 7'8" at the most. So by being able to be a team, but so they don't understand how Auburn has all these resources, why everybody is so crazy about Auburn. Bo Jackson, long time ago. And nobody has the appeal that transcends generation at Auburn. Like, everybody likes Bo Jackson, but it's hard to remember certain Bo Jackson moments if you weren't there.
Right.
Or if you weren't in that era, at least a 90s baby, at least. So these guys are like, well, damn, Auburn has all these resources. People love Auburn. What if we turn Auburn up?
Yeah.
And I think now that's what people are saying is like, we can be that class. We can be that generation that turns Auburn up. You got Nike, so now you get rid of the Under Armour. A lot of kids didn't like that. And Hugh Freeze is the players' coach, man. He's the type of guy that like players like to play for.
Right.
Didn't get the results on field. And another thing, Auburn is playing the babies, bro. Like last year, they played so many true freshmen: Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Jay Crawford, all world freshman, Caleb Harris, DeMarcus Riddick. So if you're young and you can ball, you can play. So that's showing proof of concept. And if you look at Auburn's season, if you take away those turnovers, they're a totally different ball club. But you can't take away 9 turnovers in 3 games or 10 turnovers in 3 games, bro. You can't do it.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point to bring up too, because like we were talking about it before you hopped on here, and it's like they're crushing it in Atlanta, but they're like dominating the state of Alabama. And I think it's probably because of what you're saying, where they're giving these guys a chance to pave their own path, become their own team, and players in the state of Alabama are kind of buying in to Auburn and are going away from Alabama. Like it almost feels like Alabama is just now having to go anywhere else because players are resonating more with what Auburn has going on. And I think it's part of what you're saying with painting that own, paving their own path, the tradition. So yeah, I think it's working for sure. And I think Auburn slowly is going to start to maybe become a little bit more of the team for the state's team, because they're getting the guys from in-state.
I mean, it goes in cycles. Like when I was in school in the early 2000s, so I was in school with like Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown and all of them.
Yeah.
Like Auburn was the wave, right?
Jason Campbell.
Yeah, Jay Cam. Like Jay Cam was actually like one of the main members on the NIL board at Auburn, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. He's got a good podcast too. So
yeah. Cam Cole, man, cheapest person I ever met in my life. Man, and but when Auburn was the wave, you saw it on the football field too. Like it like, and I know a lot of people say, well, Bama was on probation. Well, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It means that Auburn was the wave at the time. And when Bama caught the wave in Alabama, outside of Cam Newton, they dominated. So I just don't think that you can continue to recruit outside of Alabama and win the Iron Bowl. It's something about it. Like,
I'm with you.
You got like if you got if 12 of the top 13 players in Alabama continue to go to Auburn, like it don't matter like who you bring in. You're not going to win the Iron Bowl. You might win every other game. You ain't gonna win the Iron. Like for people who care about the Iron Bowl, you can't win it without them. Like Georgia has to win good. What was it? Clean old fashioned.
Yeah, clean old fashioned hate, something like that. Yeah.
You got to win it with Georgia players, bro. Like it's got to be some guys who have vested interest more than just this is where I went to school. My cousin, my auntie, my uncle. Those type things are what makes the Iron Bowl the Iron Bowl. Like people die about the Iron Bowl. Lord, go out bless them, but I don't know if you remember. It's like it's people that like really don't talk to family members for years, like real life Hatfields and McCoys. Yeah. So with that being said, like you got to have teams from you got to have players from Alabama and I got to give kudos to Hugh Freeze on this, because when you look at what Brian Harsin did, there were all of these stories about him not recruiting and him not going to the high schools. When Hugh Freeze first got there, his first trip was to every high school that had a committed player to Auburn in the state of Alabama. And then he went to all the main targets in the state of Alabama. And then he bounced back into Georgia to go see commits from Georgia. But he made sure he took care of home first and foremost. And I think it's going to continue to pay dividends for Coach Freeze. But you got to win this year.
Yeah.
This
is definitely the year.
See, I'm an Alabama guy. I went to Alabama during the Mac Jones 2 years. So I was on the other side of the shift. And, I think when we were previewing the season before it happened, I think we were both kind of high on Auburn and thought the result would be better than it is. But, they got the talent to have been better than, 5-7 this year. So I think it's just a matter of time before the guys that they're bringing in. I think they got a great quarterback room now. And that's something we could talk about too, because it's a huge move to sign Deuce Knight, but also bring Jackson Arnold in for a little bit of seniority.
And the Stanford quarterback's pretty solid too. They got coming in as well in the portal.
Another guy from Gwinnett. That's another. He played at Grayson. That's another Kenyatta Watson special.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Grayson. Just won the state championship too.
Yeah, man, so, y'all saw Tyler Atkinson going crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 9 tackles. He's only a junior. Number one linebacker in the country, right?
I call him Broly. Y'all, if you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, that's what I call him, bro. That's Broly, dog. Like he goes to a different level. It's like I never seen anything like it, man. The first time I saw him, I was at a UA camp. He was in the 8th grade, and he was whooping 4-stars that were like juniors and seniors. Like, I ain't even gonna say no names. They probably be embarrassed, but Tyler was whooping them. He wasn't. Right. He might have been 195 pounds at the most. I'm talking about 250, 260 pound guys. So, and I think that he's taking his ranking. And nobody's really making him like 24/7 on 3. They're not making him like the number 1 overall guy. But he is on a mission. I've never seen anything like it. You talk like the way I judge a kid is like, are they fighting for reps? Like he wants every rep he can get. Like he's skipping. Like he's already a 4-star, 5-star. He's like, nah, bro, I need another rep. Like he's like a fiend for it, bro. And did y'all see the video where he caught the snake with his hands?
Yeah, I think I saw that one. Yeah.
Bro, he different, bro, man. Shout out to Tyler, man.
Yeah, shout him out, man. I had the opportunity to watch him in that state championship against Juju, Colorado commit, Carrollton, and he stood out. Like even if you didn't know who he was, you knew who number 16 was on the field. Like it was obvious that guy is a baller. I was surprised to see he was a junior. That's kind of what got me.
Yeah, man. He got another year. Like he's a guy he can easily reclass.
For sure. And you see guys now going to play and practice with the team during the bowl game. I think I saw Juju's out there practicing. You had a guy on your show, CU Flex, is out here practicing. We want to talk about like how important is high school recruiting now with the portal? A lot of these guys getting in a year or two later.
Man, I tell you what, man, it's still important because you want guys that set the culture. But identifying the right people, getting guys out of state is more important. I think your retention percentage is more important than your initial rating. Because at the end of the day, you can spend all this money recruiting these guys. Yeah. If they don't play or they don't get their way that first year, they don't feel comfortable in your system, they don't fit, they're gone. So basically, like you don't wind and dine, and then now they just go for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They off with the next one. So
they got their free drink from you. they on to the next to it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think the retention rate, getting the right guys, not going by the rankings, but going by the culture, going by the fit. Doing your research, understanding the family, understanding the dynamic behind why is he choosing your school outside of championship in football. I think that's what's more important because if you strike on the right high school guys, it's great. Yeah. But if they're in, but if you're bringing guys in and you have a transient system, then you also have a transient culture. And so that way, like when you bring in transfer portal guys, there's nothing for them to latch on to figure out what is the whatever school way. What is the Bama way? What is the Auburn way? The Georgia way? But when you bring in these guys as puppies and you allow them to grow up in the system and they stay there, then I think that's where the high school recruiting is more important than anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what's the message, I guess, then for some of these guys like, Juju or like, Deuce going to Auburn, and then you bring in a pretty good guy out of the transfer portal. You got, Caden Salter at Colorado there. You bring in Jackson Arnold. You bring in Stanford quarterback. You wine and dine these guys to get them to your program, but then you bring in a guy. Is the message, hey, you can develop behind these guys, open competition. How do you get somebody who is going to stick around, even though you might have maybe they feel slighted or maybe they saw it coming?
I think it's competition, right? When you look at guys, it's like, okay, cool. Are you truly developmental, and are you truly who you say you are? Are you gonna come in? Are you gonna take this opportunity to learn behind somebody who's more veteran, use it to your advantage, and then go beat them out? Send him on his way again if you're really like that, right? And I think that's what it has to be because you got to think like even look at the top teams in the country. Where you look at Ohio State, look at the best teams in the country, Oregon. Look at their depth chart in the quarterback room. So behind Dylan Gabriel, you got what's my man Dante
Moore.
You got Dante Moore, in this pretty glass case, breaking case of emergency. So if you need him, you can still play him, even though like the red shirt is in effect. Okay, then you go look at Ohio State. You got Will Howard. You still got, what's my guy name? Is Devin Brown still there?
Devin Brown, Julian Sand.
And they had Air up until like a week or two ago. Yep. So I mean, Ohio State, Georgia. All right, Carson Beck gets hurt. You come back with another 5-star in Gunnar Stockton, and they still got another 5-star. Yeah. So if you're serious about playing a championship brand of football, you can't be afraid of competition in the quarterback room.
But it worked for Alabama for so long. Like having guys be developmental, it wasn't a common thing for true freshmen to play. Tua, did it after a while, but the ability for someone to sit and wait their turn paid out for them in the end. And I think if you transfer around, transfer portal is a good thing, gives guys an opportunity to play, get in a team that maybe fits better with them. A bunch of different reasons, but if you're able to learn and develop and grow with a program and a coaching staff, I think it pays out better for NFL career too. So
yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to hit on, you were on Paul Feinbaum a couple months ago, and you just came up from your CU visit. You came back and you were like, look, this school can recruit at an SEC level. And now Colorado just nabbed the #1 defensive lineman in the portal in Naheem. What is it? Do you truly believe CU can recruit at an SEC level? And like, what is it that they're saying at Colorado that's working?
Yeah, I think they can. I think it's all about the resources that you're willing to invest in it. I think that Colorado has a really special blend of what they offer. The star power that is Deion Sanders, being able to say that we are playing guys on both sides of the ball, having a Heisman guy, having a #1 draft pick. That you not only developed as a person, but you developed as a quarterback. I think that there's a lot to offer as far as making Colorado a business trip. Do you want to go to the NFL? Okay, cool. We're going to show you how to get there. We've got the most NFL experience on our staff in the entire country, and you've got a Hall of Famer as your head coach. Like and marketing opportunities are plumb. They're everywhere. Yeah. So there's a lot to sell from that perspective. A lot is made about Coach Prime, like visiting high schools. I feel like if he ever just wanted to say, you know what, damn everything, I'm just gonna go prove a point, and wanted to go recruit high schools, there ain't no doubt in my mind he would have the #1 class in the country. Like I'm just like I've been around to this lecture. Like if he did what everybody else does, but the fact that he runs his program the way he does at this point because of who he is, and I talked to him straight up. I was like, bro, like not bro, but kind of like bro. like, you ain't gonna go like go to a school. He was like, I might. He said if I do, it's gonna be in a particular way, in a particular fashion, because I got to do it differently, because I can't just walk into everybody's school, because then they're going to start shooting at me. Like it's going to be different, which I feel them on. But let's say all things being equal, do I think anybody could out-recruit him as far as like if you make everything equal? No, I don't. Like I've been around. He got me here. Like,
right. Like, he pulled you out with the quickness. Yeah.
Man, what? Man, he didn't play at all. So, but yeah, I do think that he could recruit at the SEC level. But I think more importantly, can he recruit the transfer? I think at this point to win the media games, who wins the transfer portal who's winning immediately. It used to be the recruiting classes were a direct reflection of who was going to win in 2 to 3 years. Well, you win the portal, it's almost like a direct reflection of what happens now. If you hit in the portal, I mean, just think about it. If you can add 12 to 15 guys right now to your roster, and you hit on 10 of them, and you already have a decent roster, bro, like you almost guarantee yourself 3 to 4 wins. Like if they have some type of war stat for adding players in the portal, I think Colorado will be near the top. Look at Ole Miss, what they've been able to do recently. You look at Florida State did it, not this year, but last year.
Right.
It's another danger of the portal.
Yeah.
Because if you miss in the portal, man, it get ugly quick.
The wrong guys.
High school recruiting is still important.
Right. I mean, even Ohio State, right? You go, obviously we saw that their quarterback, Kyle McCord, had a good year at Syracuse, but Will Howard, he's turned up. You allow Trayvon Henderson at running back to be able to split carries with Quinshon Judkins, formerly SEC running back of the year. Like you are seeing that ability, like just having those two guys gives Ohio State even more of a dynamic, flash in the pan when it comes to running.
Bro, Caleb Downs, Seth McLaughlin.
Right.
Josh Simmons, like they went crazy, bro. Like we talking about real first round guys, like really good guys. Like Josh Simmons ain't hurt. He's probably a top 5 pick this year. Like, well, we talking about guys that they were able to go pluck. You go get the best center in the country. Caleb Downs, some people feel like he's the best defensive player that we've seen. Like his daddy a fool with it too, bro. Like as far as like Coach Downs cold, bro. So like he come from that type of stock where it's like, Caleb Downs is one of those guys, but he's a program guy. He's one of those guys that Alabama would have liked to keep, but would have liked to have kept. But like
hurt.
Yeah.
He said that would hurt.
That would hurt.
Yeah, like he's like Caleb Downs good for a win, dog. Like he's good for one win. Like, that's how good he is.
He's like that. Any guys right now in the portal that are not being talked about, and I totally stole Hunter's question there, but any guys in the portal that you really like right now that are not being talked about that are still available?
Man, who do I want to see? Mateer's gone. Who is in the portal that's not went anywhere yet? Dang, Deuce just went. E went. Kanai Walker, no. Not that I'm really because like they're like people are like snatching them up now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'm being biased here. I think somebody's gonna get a really good quarterback at Noland. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yeah.
If South Carolina pulls this off and gets him, they visited this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get a really good. I was privy to some of the conversations they were having in Ohio State, and just how some of the players felt about him. Like Aaron's gonna be a really good quarterback, and I think that in the right system, maybe even a year to develop. If South Carolina gets him, he can wait a year behind Sellers, learn, like we said, kind of endear himself to the locker room. Man, that it could be one of those things where it helps turn the tide of South Carolina because, as we all know, consistent quarterback play is how you build a program.
Absolutely.
So when you miss on one, I mean, you can go look at the fall of Florida. After Tebow, they missed on a couple. Man, it went down fast, and
it did.
Yeah, that'd be huge for South Carolina because even this year we saw Ashford have to get a couple snaps. The way Sellers plays ball, he's taking design runs. He puts himself in position. Like God forbid something happens to him where he's got to miss some snaps in a game, like in the LSU game this past year. You got somebody like Aaron Noland to come in. Not that Ashford was terrible, but he had some turnovers there. And realistically, if they win that game, a little bit better performance, or if Sellers could have finished that game, South Carolina's in the playoff. So having a good backup quarterback is just as critical too. So
how much more dangerous does it make you to have a guy who presents all the dangers that Sellers does, and then just being able to bring in a guy who's just cerebral in the pocket that can really throw the ball, and he's a lefty. So yeah, I think that's my under the radar transfer portal guy right now, Aaron Noland.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, he was top 5 from a quarterback spot in recruiting in high school, so he should translate well. That'll be great for their quarterback room if they pull it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw one thing you were talking about, and it was in one of your live mailbag sessions. Someone writing in and talking about kind of the rise of a two-way player out there, Colorado. Travis Hunter killing it. I think looking at Alabama with Jalen Mbakwe entering the transfer portal, coming out. One of the big pieces that people were talking about was he wants to be a two-way player. Everyone sees, it's a shot to win a Heisman. If you can do it, you get, some clout from it. Do you think some DBs, or maybe you've seen it, that are getting recruited out of high school are going to start asking for that a little bit more before even getting recruited to a school? Like, hey, let me take some snaps on offense before I decide to sign.
Yeah, I think it's a real thing, because then what's going to happen is you were always able to tell guys they would get snaps on offense, and you never had to do it because once you got them there, they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But now there's a school in Colorado that says, hey, you come over here, we going to do it. We got trust me, come be the next Travis Hunter, or come be the first such and such. So, I mean, you got guys like Naeem Alford, electric with the ball in his hands. Like KJ Bolden. Like, if you ever seen KJ with the ball in his hands, he's electric. There are guys out there who could, I feel like, pull it off. I mean, my favorite guy ever was Miles Jack. I don't know if you guys remember him at UCLA. When he was running the ball, right?
Played for the Jaguars for a little bit too.
Yeah, man. I think the last team was the Steelers, like Miles Jack, when he had to go play running back. So there are going to be some linebackers who can run the ball. Like a lot of times when you find, like, when guys, linebackers, when I talk to linebacker coaches in the SEC, it's one of the hardest positions to recruit and to kind of scout, because you don't know you can get a big guy, a fast guy, but you don't know what's going to happen when it's time to put his face in the fan, right? You can see it on film sometimes, and then you don't know, like, and then when you're trying to see how are they going to play in the scheme, is he just going to be a metalhead and just going to run into the guard every time, or is he going to spill and help and let somebody else make the play? Those are the things so that make it hard to kind of look at a linebacker or scout a linebacker. And one of the things that people do is look at the way they run the ball. You look at their hips. You look at how, their center of gravity. How are they going? Like, you can tell if a guy has a low center of gravity when they're running the ball, and then you can kind of tell will they be able to maintain leverage when it comes to smacking the guard, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you'll start to see more guys run the ball from a linebacker position. So I think that now that you have a school that says you could do it, that's been put in the forefront. Utah has done it multiple times, and nobody talks about it. Right. Utah was really good for having guys play on both sides of the ball, but not to the extent of a Travis Hunter. Stanford, even Richard Sherman, good receiver, right?
Yeah.
But not to the extent of a Travis Hunter. So now you'll start to see more schools have to put up a shut up when it comes to, hey, I need a couple touches on offense. And I think like Caleb Downs had like
returning.
Paul returns, yeah.
Yeah, Caleb Downs is a guy that you got to give him a package. I almost had his dad tell me on the show one time. I told Coach Downs, I was like, does he got a package? He said, I can't. What he said? He said, I can't confirm or deny. Right. So I really believe they had some in there for Caleb. So yeah, I think next year you'll see more and more people do it because now the kids have the leverage. Because if you don't, you got to continue to recruit guys.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to keep them happy. And I think a couple of carries will go a long way towards keeping somebody who's probably already making $1 million already content, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about that. I was like, coming into this year, I was like, all right, you got to give guys snap count. You got, DBs or you got some guys on, linebackers. And it's like to keep them happy, you got to put them to the game and give them snap count. But looking at some of the people that entered the portal, from Alabama's, the ones I'm kind of targeting, the wide receivers, it feels like they were missing out on targets. Like they were getting snaps, but if they're not getting targeted, they're out. So I think, it's a way to get guys, maybe you're not taking full snaps at DB. Jalen Mbakwe, started in some games. Sometimes he was kind of plug and play depending on injuries. You throw him in and give him some targets on offense. It is just enough to keep him happy, feeling like a, competitor in the game and
right.
The growth development and seeing where he goes. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll definitely see. Recruiting's been great. The portal's still going on, but there's still football happening. And so we talked a little bit about the playoff earlier, just kind of bringing it back there. We got a couple matchups this week. Any of these teams you really like that's remaining in the playoff? Any players that you remember scouting or that you really are a big fan of that's left in the playoff?
Man, I like Dylan Gabriel a lot, man. I don't get to talk about him a lot. But I remember Dylan Gabriel was at UCF, and there was a lot of Auburn people down there when they first got there, and they were like, from the first practice, they were like, bro, this dude is the real deal.
Yeah.
His release, and I think one of the, we throw this term around a lot, but moxie, when just having like straight up nerve, Dylan Gabriel has it in spades. So I really want to see him on a large level, like be able to kind of prove what kind of quarterback he is against some of the more name brand teams. And I know Oregon is a name brand team as well, but they haven't really been able to like cross the finish line when it comes to a national championship. So I think it'll be big to see if Dylan can pull that off. And man, Caleb Downs, man, he's just an exciting player to me, man. I'm gonna tell you somebody else, man, Sonny Styles too. Like, I think like those guys who are like just those freaks of nature, man. I love seeing them play to see how their athleticism translates. So those are two players that I really like a lot.
Yeah,
hey, both great guys. Hunter, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, man, Cam Scatterbo. I think that if he can run like he did against Iowa State, I think that's huge. Because I want to see, people doubt Arizona State. I've been doubting Arizona State, doubting Boise State, but those two teams got running backs that could, get one open for 70 yards, no problem. Dragging guys behind them. So, yeah, I think that's another guy in there that just could be electric this weekend or next Tuesday. Yeah.
Another guy you've been talking about a lot, Hunter, is Shedeur Barron. He gets me turned up every time watching him play DB. I mean, when he hits that you know what I'm saying? So he's been fun to watch. Colin Simmons has been fun to watch on Texas, true freshman, been balling down there. Scatterbo as well, like you talked about. But the Texas defense is just on another level. What Sarkisian's been able to do there in these last couple of years is really impressive.
Where did Barron come from?
don't
know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
even know. Right? Like I know Taffy's a walk on, but I don't know where Barron came from.
Yeah. Barron. Shit,
Dog.
man. I ain't seen one better. Like for real. Like I love Will Johnson, man. But you just talking about a Swiss Army knife. Like could do a little bit of everything. Like he could play safety in a pinch if he needed to. Tackles well, ball skills, IQ, play recognition. He got it all, bro. Smooth back pedal too, baby.
That was I had to give Cade Klubnik a little bit of credit because, like, coming into the game, I was like, if you're Clemson, you got to still throw his way because you just can't be scared of him. Cade Klubnik threw his way, it didn't work out. I think he gave up 4 catches for like 20 yards, but man, it's almost like he shuts off a part of the field completely.
Yeah.
So,
no, for sure.
Dog.
Yeah, absolute dog. And so we'll just kind of go through a couple of the games quick, maybe get your picks, and then we'll talk bowl games. We'll talk Colorado, Shedeur+Travis, but we got Texas, Arizona State. Who you like in this one? Right now, the spread's 14.
Texas and take the points.
Yeah, easy money.
Yeah. I don't see it. I think I ain't gonna lie, man. Like I love what Arizona State did. Coach Dillingham, man, great guy. I love the way they recruit. I think that program is on the rise. But I just think Texas got a different pedigree when it comes to the level of talent. And I just don't know that once if you load the box and you challenge those and you challenge Arizona State to beat you through the air, I'm not sure if they can beat that secondary. So give me Texas. I mean, and I love Scatterville too, but man, they just really if they bring that safety down and say, okay, we dare you. I just want to see how they will respond. Not to say that they can't, but if I had to bet, I would probably go with Texas.
Yeah. And Jordan Tyson, like clear-cut best receiver at Arizona State, not playing. So, like, you're missing your number one target. It's the pass offense might look a little bit weak. So they're going to be relying on Scatterville. You stop him. Yeah. Texas.
The lights might be bright for some.
If Scatterville goes off, though, man, ain't this like movie worthy, bro? If they beat Texas and Scatterville goes off, bro, like you got to give him like the real one Heisman. Like,
you see him doing the pose in Iowa State,
right?
Doing the pose every once in a while. So.
Yeah, he was this close to being in New York too, right? He had just missed a cut in that top 4, top 5. So, man, definitely be a great story there. Oregon, Ohio State, probably the game of the weekend. Ohio State's the 8 seed somehow, 2.5-point favorites. I know you were talking about Dylan Gabriel, but who you like in this one?
Shoot, man, I really like Ohio State. Where's the game?
It's gonna be in Los Angeles, Rose Bowl.
Ohio State, bro.
Yeah. They're on a mission.
Yeah, beat them twice, bro. Man, Ryan Day knows, bro. Like, first of all, he's already seen them. And then secondly, it's like, man, like, retribution. Like, this is like his Michigan game again.
Right.
Like, the only way he can make them shut up about Michigan is to at least get to the championship game.
Yeah.
Like, brother, he lose this game again. They be calling for his job after another week. Yeah, 11 wins, they still gonna be calling for his job.
Because you basically didn't make the playoffs. You lose this game, you didn't make it to the Final Four. Like all this other stuff is just for show.
Yeah, man. So yeah, man, I think a motivated Ryan Day is a good one. So I'm gonna go with Ryan Day.
Okay. I mean, we're doing our picks later here, but I got Ohio State in this one. Hunter, who you had?
I got Ohio State too. I think that they changed their running up a little bit of misdirection, a little bit of counter. I like what they've been doing. So yeah, I think it's gonna be too hard to beat them twice.
Yeah. So you got Texas and Ohio State in semis. That's going to be taking place in the Orange Bowl. The last 2 games for the weekend for the playoffs are going to be, or for next week, Notre Dame, Georgia. Them dogs versus some Fighting Irish.
Yeah, you give me Georgia, man. I just
can't pick against them.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Like Kirby Smart in this type of situation against a team that wants the ball control. I mean, like if they have more of a dynamic quarterback that can move around a little bit, or the passing concepts were like more explosives, a la Ole Miss.
Yeah,
but nah, man. Like as far as just trying to pound it down their throat with love, I just don't see it. Like they're too athletic, and that's kind of the style that they're built for. Just that rugged type style. So yeah, give me Georgia.
Georgia 1.5, easy money. I know your god brother, I want to say, is the director of player development over in Georgia. You got any insight when it comes to?
Hey, boy, you do your research, boy.
I do my research. Yeah,
man. No, man, I think they're hungry, man. Like, to be honest, I think a lot of people, like, there's still guys who were around that undefeated season on this team, and I think they just don't want the standard like to get too far away from championship football on a consistent basis, and they don't want to be the guys that kind of let the standard go. So I think they're gonna fight real hard.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think you got a clean slate at Georgia right now. I mean, you got a quarterback. No one knows kind of how he's going to play. You got a limited film on him. They could come out with something crazy. I think that's what they do.
And they love Gunner, bro. Like the team, they love him. They love Gunner, bro.
Yeah.
How do you not love a guy like that? I mean, he puts his head down. He hits hard. Like you can tell he's going to do whatever it takes to win the game.
Yeah. No, they love him, dog, and just having that dynamic of athleticism too. Like more like he like third down. The play's not there. He's gonna go shake something. So I think that's something that you haven't seen from a Georgia quarterback on a consistent basis, probably since Justin Fields.
Yeah. I mean,
that's Saban would, he would do it a little bit, but as far as being a guy who could really ride out, like Gunner can run.
Yeah,
I don't think people give him as much credit for being as athletic as he is, but he can go.
Yeah, that draw that to put them into the scoring to win that against Texas, that was took that hit like a champ. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And so you have Ohio State, or you have Georgia in that one, and I think the last one we have is Penn State, Boise State. I mean, I feel like most people know what's going to happen here, but 10.5-point favorite for Penn State.
I don't know, man. I don't know what it is, bro. But it's something weird about Penn State, man. Like, I hope this is the one where James Franklin finally gets the monkey off his back. But dog, I don't know, man. It's just something I don't know, man. What's the spread?
10.5.
Yeah, give me Boise in the points.
Okay. I mean, Boise's had some success in the Fiesta Bowl, beat TCU a while back, beat Oklahoma a while back. So they have some magic out there in Arizona for sure. Yeah, man. You got you trust your quarterback, and you got Genti, and I think they play a really ragtag brand of defense where it's like everybody go, like no stars, we all going. Every last one of us going. They all run to the ball. That's something that you really don't see. It's rare in college football with so many elite athletes. You're like, all right, well, I ain't got to run to the ball because he's going to make that tackle. I know he's going to make that tackle. They all go. Yep. And I think that's important for a team like Penn State because with those running backs that they do have, if you rally to the ball and the best way to stop a good running back is don't let them get started. And you got to rally to do that. So I think I'm not sure if Drew, as far as playing quarterback against the stacked box, we got to see him beat you. If they make him beat you, then I'm not sure. I don't know how that game goes, man. I'm not as confident. Right. So they down, so they're going to beat them by 10. So yeah, give me Boise State.
Yeah. I like Penn State to win. I think the points could be a tough one. I think Penn State coming off of a kind of candy win. I think that they might be a little soft coming into this one, thinking it's going to be easy looking ahead. So yeah, I can see where Boise could cover, but I like Penn State still to win.
Yeah, it's crazy because in my mind, the most impressive game Penn State's played this year came in a loss against Oregon. I still like Penn State in this game, but I don't like the points, like you said, Hunter. So it'll be interesting. But that'd be a good semifinal, though, whether it's Boise State versus Georgia, a little rematch of that Week 1 matchup a couple years back, or Penn State, Georgia in the semis as well would be crazy. We wanted to wrap up with what's happening at Colorado. Shedeur+Travis playing their last game. What's the feels, man? I mean, it feels like I just watched these guys put their Jackson State hat on, and now they're riding out for the last bowl game.
Yeah, it's end of an era, man. But and that's kind of what it is. It's like the foundation has been laid, and it's just like, man, it's almost basically almost gonna be like Sanders mania. Like you got to take so now even with them I think I saw Richard Eisen say this. It was like, bro, they're gonna dominate. Deion Sanders is about to dominate the next 6 months of our lives, bro. Like Shedeur possibly being the number 1 pick, Travis Hunter being right behind him, Colorado football in itself. This man got TV shows everywhere. So yeah, I think the vibe is basically
it's awesome.
A lot of people say the best way to replace a really good player is with 3 players. And I think that's what Colorado is focused on. I think now you'll see more of a team-based aspect. And just starting to see, I saw some fights in practice yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And nastiness. They got to run the ball. Even getting a guy like Mantrez already making plays. Getting to some of these hard-nosed, tough guys. I think that's going to be important. Jaheim Otis, we talk about him like, he's a guy who barely played last year, but like I said it on another show too. I'm like, bro, if you're good enough for Nick Saban, you're good enough for me. So man, he's a mover, man. I thought he was about 35, bro. I seen him I saw a picture of him. I was like, man, I'm like, who is this? I'm like, oh, this like Deion's right hand man. Like, they're like, nah, bro, that's the kid. I'm like, oh shit. Like, you like a grown ass man.
Big boy.
Right. Yeah, he big, man. He grown in here too, like crazy.
Right.
So man, definitely not somebody that you want to see on the other side of you on the line of scrimmage. So I think Colorado's new identity, as far as going from more of the finesse team, when you had Shedeur throwing it to Travis Hunter and keeping the ball in Shedeur's hand, basically because he's your most talented player. Well, now seeing them kind of lean onto the offensive line and the defensive line, get nastier in the trenches, incorporate more tight end play, I think you'll start to see more of an attitude change in Colorado. So that's what I would be looking for, like transitioning from a finesse team to more of a tough team.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I feel like, that was the big change from last year to this year, picking up Jordan Seaton, true freshman, picking up some of those guys in the offensive line. They really loaded up in the trenches to be, give some protection to Shedeur, who was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the country last year. When we think about these two special guys with Shedeur and Travis, from you, where do you see Travis playing in the NFL position-wise? Cornerback, wide receiver? Like, which one do you think primarily corner with a little bit of wide receiver? Do you think 100% both, or are you thinking like all wide receiver, a little bit of corner?
I think you start him off 70-30.
Yeah.
Based on need. I think for today's NFL, I think you can flip a coin. Like, I think wherever you start them at, if you go to a team that's more primarily bringing them in as a wide receiver, you'll see you teach them the whole defense. And you bring them in your dime packages, right? And I think that's how you kind of ease them in. So if it was me, I would probably start him at receiver and then put him in my dime packages, strictly pass him down. So I don't need him in run support. Right. I need him to be able to use his ball skills to pick the ball off. So put him in some zone sets, maybe some cover 4, some quarters, all of that good stuff, cover 3, whatever it is you want to run him in, put him in some zone sets and let him be himself and go seek the ball. So I would probably go 70-30 offense and 30% on defense.
Okay. I mean, we got to see more plays like we did against Baylor, right? Where he just knocked the ball out right before the end zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, what he was able to do on the offensive side was just the jump he made from last year to this year is incredible. And and then on the other side, you got Shedeur Sanders. What do you think sets him apart in this upcoming draft? His homie Cam Ward is kind of vying for that number 1 spot too. But what do you think sets Shedeur apart? Things that we might not see on TV or we might not see as fans.
I'll probably say his maturity. Sometimes like he may not get the credit because he might have like a spicy tweet every now and then, or he might say something like we're everybody's Super Bowl and people get onto him. But like the brash nature, right? But his maturity, man, like he's a student of the game. He's early everywhere he goes. His dad's the coach, and he's still like the first one in the building. I think that's important. And I don't think a lot of people realize how seriously he takes his craft. So I think his maturity as a leader is something that you got to respect. I mean, usually when you talk about guys who are quote unquote trust fund babies, it's hard to like be like, oh, well, you ain't really been through nothing. I don't know if I could trust you and all of that type of stuff. But he's a classic quarterback, leadership through and through with a little bit of flash. So I just think, I think his maturity, his leadership abilities are something that maybe go unnoticed that he has in spades.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And it makes sense, right? They say they call him grown. That's what's in Deion Sanders' phone. So the maturity, I mean, that definitely lines up. And so they got BYU on Saturday. I know I've been yapping here. Any thoughts when it comes to that game? Or I know who you're gonna pick, but any thoughts on the Alamo Bowl?
I just think it's gonna be a race. If BYU can keep up, they're gonna it's Shedeur Sanders' last game. They're gonna give him the ball every time, bro. Like if they run the ball, I'll be surprised. Like, I mean, I'm literally thinking they may pass that bitch every time, bro. So at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be a shootout, and we'll just see if BYU can keep up, or defensively, can they get up, get the ball, and take and shrink the game, right? Yeah. So I think that's gonna be important to see. But I think if you let Colorado get going, they can get ugly.
Absolutely. And Hunter, we were talking before the episode, you were talking about something that you had heard, Phillip talk about with the running game at Colorado and needing to see more there. Hunter, I'll let you ask the question. So.
Yeah, kind of wrapping here. I mean, you mentioned something about them kind of maybe moving towards more of a run identity next year, just because, I mean, they're the most pass, I think the fourth most pass plays called this season. You think next year maybe the vibe on that will change? They'll have to start pounding the rock more. It's probably tough to keep up, but is that kind of the vibe around the facility and programs?
I ain't make that one up. Like I got that from the facility. Like you got to run the ball. Like you got to protect. You got to protect your quarterbacks. Like you put the ball in the hands of Shedeur Sanders because he's the best player in the country. Like he's gonna be #1 pick.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Pat Sherman, what he's done historically, his run concepts, he's always been like an outside zone, inside zone type guy. When you look at what he was able to do with LaShawn McCoy at the Eagles, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, he's had guy after guy, the guy who's been successful. And he utilizes the tight end. And a lot of people don't realize he was a tight ends coach and an offensive line coach in the NFL. So he wants to pound the ball. Right. I think they basically, and a lot of people talk about how many downfield concepts that they had with Shedeur because they wanted him to get the ball down the field. I mean, they basically tailored the offense for Shedeur. Their run plays were tunnel screens. So I think now where you don't have Shedeur pulling the trigger, you got to have more of a running game. And I think when you see like what they're doing at high school recruiting, 2 more tight ends, I think that they're going to bring in at least 2 tight ends in the transfer portal. They just got a guy who's really good, 6'3", 240, can catch the ball, but he's a great blocker too. So I just think incorporating the tight end a lot more this year, less of those 0 sets, and you're going to see more running from, like I said, you're going to see a little more nastiness from Colorado this year, which is going to help that offensive line because even like Jordan Senior in that Big 12, there aren't a lot of guys who are going to be able to just take that punishment from him. Like, if he says, okay, I know I just got to pin my ears back and go, move somebody. And I think that's what you'll see on the offensive line, less of a finesse game and a little more smash mouth, which I think will be good for them.
Yeah, it'd be good for the Big 12 too. Yeah.
Sure.
Definitely be good.
Cool. All right, man. I guess as we wrap here, I wanted to ask, just put it out there. Where can people find you? I know you got your at there, what you got going on, just for everyone listening here.
Yeah, man. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukesthescoop. Just started my YouTube channel back up, man. She's doing really well too, man. Check me out on live. I don't even know what episode I'm on. Maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. Just come kick it. But yeah, check me out at Dukesthescoop. I just go live and I talk, man. Go check it out, man. Leave a comment and let's hang out.
Absolutely. And for people that are not familiar with Phillip Dukes, I mean, he knows more than just college football. I've heard you talk a little NBA, heard you talk a little professional football. And so I know you've been mostly talking college football of late, but you'll get a little bit of everything if you tune in. And, we really appreciate you joining the show. I mean, you got anything else for us?
Nah, man. Shit, y'all just keep going, man. Like, y'all show look good. Man, I might need y'all to help me out do my show, man. Like, y'all going crazy.
Right,
man. Now, y'all do a great job, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you coming on and, best of luck and have a good holiday season, man. Thank you.
Hey, you too, bro. All right, love for it.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the USC podcast, and until next time.